All right. Hi, and welcome to Stimming and Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. Again, we are back with another episode. Today, our guest is Ms. Nikisha Horn. I am really, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Hi, Nikisha.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Man, I'm actually really good. I'm excited about what you have to say today, and I'm always excited when I have another minority woman on the show to talk to
hmm
about being in STEM and what's your specific area of expertise within STEM, because we know STEM is so broad. But I'm really excited, and considering that I kind of know some of your story, I'm really excited. So as we start every show, I ask all my guests the same question. And so I'll ask you. So, Nikisha, tell us your STEM story.
All righty. So my story really dates back probably from the womb. I believe I always knew somewhere deep down inside that I was destined to be in the STEM field. It all started with my mother. She's definitely my inspiration. She was a science teacher. And as we all know, African American young girls and even young boys, when we go to school, we always find some of our favorite classes. Most people always run away from that science class. That's always the class that people try to ditch, try to dodge some way, somehow, because it's a lot of times it may be hard to relate to because you could be working with people who may not look like you, may not even understand your background. But my mother came from that really strong background with her science expertise. And I also had an uncle who was an engineer in the STEM field, and I also had an aunt as well. So I was that kid, always growing up, doing the very best she could in those science fairs, and was just always really interested in science. And I think probably what piqued my interest was I was always that inquisitive child, always wanted to know the who, what, and the how. And that's pretty much what science teaches us. It always teaches us to push the envelope back. Don't just accept an answer for what it is, or don't always go with the status quo. Always push to figure out why something happens, or who is doing this, or what is actually involved with these typical interactions. So that's pretty much the very beginning of my STEM. Then I ended up attending a wonderful HBCU, Tennessee State University.
Yes.
And I first majored in engineering, civil engineering. Again, I was always finding barriers for not really African American women, or even men or women were really involved. I attended a very specific and specialized high school. It was a Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences, where again, STEM was heavily focused. And so it was focused mainly around agricultural science. And around that time, I was active in an organization called FFA. It was known as the Future Farmers of America, but now that they just basically go off of FFA.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's different horizons of how science can be applied to something else. So imagine high schoolers working in Chicago on a farm, learning how to make their own pickles. We were learning all about horticulture and agricultural science and food science and environmental science. And I never thought all of these things would come full circle. So all of that information I learned, developed as a young freshman and sophomore at Tennessee State, with majoring in civil engineering. I then later decided to go into this regular chemistry. After a while, I figured, I think the program I was doing was a little bit more too specific and more of the civil or environmental scope. I wanted more of a broad scope for my undergraduate career. So that's why I decided to go to chemistry. Everybody laughed at me like, girl, people who go from engineering usually go to computer science or something else. They say you went to something harder. So, but again, chemistry, I guess all that STEM was always pretty much my passion. So then upon graduation, I received a job offer. I worked for a company on the East Coast, B.E.A.U.T.Y, where I was working on developing textile and printing ink for different companies. And I just thought I was really interested in science, but really was just not my passion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go about finding things that you're passionate, things always kind of tug on you, and then you just really try to search yourself and find your journey to figure out where, best be met. I think around that time, I was definitely my young self, very impatient, is wondering what life would be in store. I always really gravitated towards beauty and towards consumer products. And I just never really knew how or what the deal was. So how do you go about making, beautiful products, beauty products, hair products, skin products? So one day on my way back from the East Coast, I decided to move back to Chicago. And I drove up to a company. It was a Black-owned company, products. And at the time, Softsheen was just acquired by L'Oreal. And I actually just drove up there,
Sorry.
and I gave them my.
Hey, can you say that again? Because it cut out.
Oh, okay. So on my way back from the East Coast, I actually went to a company called Softsheen Products. They were a manufacturer and developer of African American hair care products for multicultural. Yeah. And so they were just acquired by L'Oreal. And so I think at the time they were probably running a lot of job openings there, but I just say, let me just step out on faith. This is something I've always just been interested in. It's piqued my curiosity. I didn't even know if there's such thing as chemists, there. So I just told them I wanted to be their next chemist. And I remember that security guard was just so surprised. I actually drove up there in my suits with my resume, like I was having an interview, he was just absolutely surprised, and so I know he took my resume right into the HR person. I want to say maybe a week later, HR called me, and then from there, I started my career in actually the consumer products, goods, and cosmetic field. And so upon the acquisition of Softsheen, later on another company was acquired by L'Oreal, which is called Carson Products. And that birthed Softsheen Carson. So I was with the company for almost 15 years, developing from an associate chemist all the way to a group leader. And again, is really concentrating and learning all about the science of products, and also the science and the morphology and chemistry of African American hair. And just learning all about those things really just piqued my interest quite a bit. And so once the company decided to move on the East Coast, it was also another transitional period in my life. I went from Miss to a Mrs. and I was a mother of a young little girl. So then I just took some time doing more freelance work. And then later I got the call for Namaste Laboratories to be their research manager there. Also basically the head of the R&D department. So from there, my role was to help spearhead more of the hair care technologies for that brand. One of the major brands there is the ORS olive oil line. So I did that about 2.5 years. Then afterwards, I worked for a chemical manufacturing company where I studied surfactants and emollients. So surfactant is the main chemistry that goes into our hair care and also our body care, shampoo and body wash products. So not only did I have the background in developing the product, I actually learned a lot more about the chemistry of those ingredients that interacted with those products. So my role I was one of the senior research chemists there for their personal care team. And I would work with the sales managers and our research chemists there to help develop new ingredients to make end user products more friendly. So I think that role was really meant at the time of my life for me to understand, going back to, so basically we know what products interact really well to make our hair better, but how can we work with companies to make better ingredients so that way we can make better products for, again, the end user. So I thought it was a really nice time. And so now I am here 2 years later. I'm a senior lab manager for a major contract manufacturer. And so in this role, I support several brands, not only one brand or several brands. And I expand more into hair care and skin care. So now I have all types of products. I have shampoos, conditioners, body washes, facial products, things that are more into anti-aging, anti-wrinkle. So pretty much the whole gamut. And it's quite exciting work. So.
I bet it sounds, without me knowing specifically, it just sounds fun. It sounds like you get to go to work every day and you get to honor who you are working in the products that you work with. So I can't even, I feel like I just admire this work. I'll just say that I admire this work.
Thank you, thank you. It is. I would say it's a godsend. You know, sometimes when you walk into things, I think what's more interesting, we don't have many women from our perspective, African American women's perspective, in developing products. The
Right.
thing, a lot of people, when I look into the industry, have a lot of it's heavily male dominated. Not many women even know about it, let alone African American women. So it's really a true blessing, and it's a great opportunity to be able to be involved in shaping the products for other multicultures, not even just Black women. It's the different cultures, different sciences, different arts that go behind developing products for different multicultural races.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think is the reason why this isn't more known? It isn't more, what you do isn't more known.
More, it depends on more known for who. So I think that's the key. It's probably not known for African American women because we don't have as many of us in the representation in the area to speak more
Mm-hmm.
about it. I believe there are less than 1%. I'm not sure of the statistics now, but I know there's probably less than 1% of African American women who are actually in this field. So if you don't have anyone to actually go out and speak to our youth and speak to our collegiates about it, it's really hard to spread the word. The good news is a lot of our colleges and universities are doing a much better job with respect to preparing undergraduates and even graduates to have the educational background to develop into this industry. So certain schools, such as I know University of Toledo, they have a concentration in cosmetic science through their pharmaceutical program. I've heard about Fairleigh Dickinson University, Rutgers University. So now even different schools are actually coming with really strong curriculums that center around pharmaceuticals, which is basically the formulation of drugs and the formulation of cosmetics. So
Right.
getting those students to be more understanding, and how wonderful it would be for HBCUs to be able to connect with this type of opportunity as well. I
I
think the
agree.
one thing that's just really, really hurting. So most people think science, you end up being a science teacher, or you end up being, again, I still have that passion for science education as well. But you always are in a box where you either be a teacher or you're going to the pre-med route, preparing for medical school, dental school, some people law school and patents and stuff, you know. So it's really rare that you get a chance to go into an industry such as cosmetics or personal care, and it's really be influential in that area. So I think we had more African American women in this area and to do more mentoring and outreach and advertising, we
Mm.
probably see a much better response.
Well, I'm glad to have you on the show,
Thank
and
you.
I'm
I'm so
glad to
happy.
help spread the word and get the message out there that hey, this is a viable career, and
Yeah.
we need more minority women, more just a diverse swath of women to be represented here because you guys are really you're doing work. You're doing we probably use products from one of some of the manufacturers that you know are contracting with.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably in our homes right now. We're putting them on our
Mm-hmm.
hair, we're putting them on our skin, we're having reactions to them, we're doing all these things, and we don't have a say.
Right.
And by say, I don't mean like, oh, I don't want to use this product. I mean, hey, this is better for skin with more melanin. this
Yeah.
is better. This is better for African American hair.
Here.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
those are kinds of things. Those kinds of things, which I think are really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think more people are more conscious of the need for more these products, but I'm not sure if they know the work that goes behind the scenes.
Yes, yes, yes. And even the understanding of our own unique hair morphology, our own unique skin, background. So that's always, critical too. Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
also
well,
critical for companies to make sure you have diversity. So that way you have different perspectives. And so, we have different formulation needs for different people depending on their own particular needs. So you want to make sure you come from someone or you work with people who so that way you're able to address all of our consumer needs.
okay. I, man, I feel like we could talk about this some more, but I do have a couple of questions, a couple, maybe one question, maybe two. Um, so, who have been some of your mentors?
I'm sorry, I think you went out. What was?
Oh, okay. I'll ask it again.
Mhm.
Who has been some of your mentors?
Great question and great question. So some of my mentors, I would say, quite a few in the industry. I had one person. She's phenomenal. Her name was Angela Ellington. Yes, Angela Ellington. She was the AVP, Associate Vice President of Research and Development at L'Oreal. So she was over our multicultural formulation development. She may not know it. Another person who I always was influential by, her name was Dr. Victoria Holloway Barbosa. She was the vice president of R&D at L'Oreal. Right now, very profound African-American female dermatologist. So she came with the whole science of the hair and science of the skin background. So she's another heavy influencer. Another young lady, wonderful. You probably will meet her soon, Dr. Crystal Porter. So she's, again, a physicist and also a chemist as well. We used to work together quite a bit. So they mentored me in several different angles. One with respect to formulation maturity and learning the ropes of product development. I would say Dr. Barbosa was highly influential with respect to the science of hair and the science of skin and how important it is to understand those interactions, as well as Dr. Porter. And then also just about championing women,
Yeah.
African-American women in color, of color. So it's a wonderful thing, to be around. And I would think other arrays of mentors that have come in my life, organizations, especially such as Society of Cosmetic Chemists. I was a lifelong member of B.E.A.U.T.Y, National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, for many years. So many people in and out of my life from that area too. And of course,
Man.
mom, she tells me she's not a cosmetic scientist, but mom, always, I still go to her for that advice when it comes to interaction as you develop your career, understanding the politics and understanding, who to sit around and how to always be your authentic self as you develop and grow with your different careers.
And I think that that's really important. Well, okay, first off, let me just say how much I admire you, right?
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
I think you do the work you do and the work you're doing. Just sort of getting yourself out there is so needed, and the work that you're doing for us behind the scenes that we don't even know. I think that's really important. So having you in the role that you're in, doing the work that you're doing, don't let anybody tell you that it's not important. It really is. And so thank you for picking up that mantle, even though it probably wasn't the major thought, but thank you for doing that. I mean, it's amazing.
My gosh, thank you. My heart is full. Thank you.
Okay, so tell us what you have going on right now, and where people can find you if they're looking for you, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be looking for you after this episode. So tell us where to find you and what you're doing now.
So right now, I'm still full-time with the company I am with. So it's really busy times for me with developing for several projects and organizations. I'm heavily found on LinkedIn. So you can look at me under Nikisha Horn, Nikishahorn. I am definitely present on the LinkedIn community. Also, right now, I'm active in several community organizations. I do quite a few speaking engagements, so I'm definitely available anytime that you need me to come to speak about careers in African-American women in careers. I'm also soon to be launching an organization, a project that's really geared towards young girls and cosmetic science. So it's called Beauty in Science, where beauty is actually an acronym. B.E.A.U.T.Y stands for bringing education, authenticity, and understanding of cosmetic science to young girls. So that's something I really always wanted. That's why I was so excited to work with you, because I really want young girls to understand it's not always just about, this is, my dream is to maybe be a teacher, which is wonderful. My dream could be a doctor, but there are so many other careers. And also to bring that excitement to science. I don't want people to be afraid of a field that they may not have an understanding, but they have someone that they can gravitate to and then see an applied usage of science. That will also be something very remarkable. Because trust me, every one of those classes will come back to bite you. I never thought geometry would be anything. Here's a good example. I never thought geometry would really matter to me in my career. it's so heavily important now in cosmetics because we use all those geometrical features, all of those angles and stuff when it comes to packaging development to make sure our formulas are compatible with our packaging. So whoever, would have thought that. And
Nice.
I swear, like I hated organic chemistry. Oh my gosh, organic chemistry was not my now
Right.
that is all I'm working with when it comes to, we hate silicones. So what do? Go with organics. So
Right.
trying to find all those different molecules and structures to interact with our skin and give us some of the same performances as we wanted with some of those, I guess the silicone, no. But that's a whole other story. We'll talk silicones later.
Well, so I
But
have
you're
a
always
question.
finding that. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
that just leads me to a question. And
Yeah.
I think it's just because I'm curious like that.
Mhm.
So how long, so let's just say you have a thought idea. It's like, okay, so I want to do a lipstick. Let's go with a perfume.
Mhm.
And I want to put lavender with coriander. I don't know. I'm just saying. And
Yes.
because I think the two of them together just smell so wonderful. And I think we should have a mist. How,
Mm.
so like let's just say that's the thing. Um, how long from like that idea phase to it actually getting in a bottle and being
Mm.
on a shelf to be sold?
Yeah. So I would say depends on the complexity of what it is. Typically, I recommend entrepreneurs give yourself at least 1 year to
Mm-hmm.
try to get it actually tested, developed, and proved, and I guess proven effective. So, but if you go straight to a contract manufacturer, it can take sometimes a little less, maybe about 9 months, versus you trying to go on your own in your kitchen, develop your own formula, then go to a contract manufacturer. So I guess it kind of depends. You got pluses and minuses on both. So some entrepreneurs that prefer not to worry about their own formula, they don't want their own, intellectual property. They want to go quick speed to market. So that's one of the quickest way. Go straight to a company such as mine in contract manufacturing. Second, if you want to have your own business, be your own entrepreneur, develop your own formulation so that way you have your own intellectual property. You have to start with your own formula recipe. Then you have to work with a lab for them to be able to industrialize that and to commercialize it. So because everything that we have in your own kitchen, or just maybe each individual may have, we won't have those same ingredients when it comes to actual commercial or industrial scale. So we have to be able to do what's called like, we may make sure we can transfer your formula to a more real life scenario. So that can be 1 year. Now, I have seen so many other cosmetic chemists who want more groundbreaking type innovations and ideas. That can be within maybe 1-2 years. So if it's like an ingredient that's not already heavily used in this personal care industry, it's a whole new ingredient we're trying to develop. You have to go through the ingredient substantiation, the ingredient safety profile.
Wow.
Then they can go into an actual final formulation and stuff. But there are like several hundreds and thousands of ingredients already substantiated for their safety within personal care too. So a lot of times you don't really have to start, brain spanking new from scratch.
Right. Okay. I don't know that, so I think about, and this is nothing against these individuals, but so I think about, going to like the open air market or the market, farmers market. You have somebody selling shea butter.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling, some kind of mist that you can put on with the oils mixed in, and it's like, oh, you're like, this is so wonderful, and so on and so forth. Um, and they, I'm thinking in my mind. I think I'm thinking in my mind they're manufacturing this stuff, even though it's like packaged and stuff in
Mm-hmm.
their house, and with not a thought that there's an idea. This is an idea that I can take to a company such as yours to see if it can be it's distributable, if that's
Distributed.
the
Yeah.
word.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And can be mass packaged or mass produced in a way that is still beneficial to a large swath of of our community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I had not thought that was that was how that would go.
Oh yeah. But so basically, it's exactly how it starts. Like after a while, depends on the entrepreneur. Some people want to invest in their own capital, where so they can start their own manufacturing and to be able to withhold it within yourself. Some people decide not to take the risk and bring in their own manufacturers. That's why you have contract manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
So different contract manufacturers go, depending on the type of brand or whatever they're looking for, different quantities, minimum order quantities. Different fast speed to market, and certain contract manufacturers have certain more expertise in a certain area. So I have like my expertise is more beauty, personal care in that space. So then we have easier access to different suppliers to be able to get us those promised ingredients quicker, faster speed than some other people.
Okay, so here's another question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get the words.
Take your time.
Because I guess I'm thinking through. And you had said, I think you had said it something earlier about if you have an idea, you can come to a contract manufacturer, and intellectual property is mainly where I'm getting at.
Okay.
So do you own the formula after a person has come to you with an idea, whether they have, I guess it's different if they've come with, hey, this is the formulation as I do it, and here are the ingredients, than if they said, hey, these are two things that I think should go together. Let's see what we can manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
So, but who owns it after that?
So I think it depends on how your initial contract is set up. Most of the times if you come to any, now this is with my company, so there's any company with an idea, they end up owning the intellectual property because they're the ones developing the formula. So they're owning intellectual property. Mm-hmm. Unless you go to them and specifically say, I want to buy this formula, then of course, within your cost of goods, that whole costing of the formula ownership would go to you, and you have to pay a certain amount of money for that. But gotcha. Most of the times when you do go to contract manufacturers, they end up owning the intellectual property because they're the ones developing the formula.
I guess I get that. So, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. If you don't, it's fine. Mm-hmm. If you do, or you can't tell me, it's fine too.
Yeah.
So what do they do? Once you've come and gone, and let's just say you don't have the funds, or you can't for whatever reason buy your formula. Mm-hmm. Because then you can't use it once you've manufactured and done all you've done, and you, like, I don't know, you've moved on, you can't use that formula anymore because it doesn't belong to you. Or how does that work, I guess?
Oh, you mean the entrepreneur? Like, so yeah. That's the risk they take. So if they do not own the formula, they won't be able to transfer that formula anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So then they will have to basically go to another company, and then you can give the company your standard, and then it's on to the next contract manufacturer or the next set of chemists, whoever, to try to reverse engineer that formula.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is intriguing.
Yeah. We're getting down that road. So we have had a little talk on the side. I guess.
Very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have one last question for you.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is the question that we ask all of our guests at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. If you could go back, if you could travel through time, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell her and why?
Wow, younger self. It's so funny. I just had my birthday too. So I would say rewind back maybe 20 plus years, fresh out of college. I think I would probably tell myself, that was around the time where, we're all fresh out of college. We're trying to figure out, what do we want to do? You think you know everything. We think we're grown. We want to take things on our own time. I would probably tell myself to be patient and wait. Everything is going to work out. Mm. Yeah, that's the big thing. And then also one of my favorite scriptures, Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, make it plain on the table. So I would just make sure you're following your vision. Don't let anything else try to supersede your vision or try to supersede the direction you're supposed to be going for your own self.
Oof. You just spoke a whole word to me. That is, I promise you, I must say that verse at least once a week. Yeah, write the vision, make it plain on some. I just, because sometimes I don't get it. Like, I don't.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh Lord, you gotta make it plain for me. Right? Mm-hmm. So
It's always no, it's gonna work out. We always want to see everything right ahead. We're just afraid to step out and step out on faith, but just know in the end, it's all going to work out. And every situation is always for your good. It's building up to your next destiny. It's building up to your next experience.
yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. And if you've taken nothing else from the show today,
Mhm.
that right there was worth the 30 minutes that you spent with us
Oh, yes.
today.
Thank you. I have to preach to myself sometimes too, but yes, thank you.
I promise you it's the thing. I promise you. I mean, and you need to. It's because the way the way things have been going lately, not just for individuals, but for the world, we really need to know that it's going to work out for our good in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that all of this was building us up to be even more bigger, faster, stronger, greater than we are at this current moment. So um, sometimes we just need to sit in
Yeah.
it, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's not always easy to do. Or being patient, like you said, that's not easy to do. But it really does work out in your favor in the end. So really, thank you for.
Indeed. Oh,
Thank you.
indeed. My pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you've given us so many nuggets today that I feel like this is going to be one of those episodes where it gets played over and over and over again, and I sincerely hope so.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that my listeners hit you up, because I'm certain that there is more that you have to say,
Mm-hmm.
and more that you have to give. And I just thank you for being a guest on our show today.
Oh, absolutely. Again, indeed, my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
So you guys, this is it. This is the end of today's episode, and I know that you have gotten all the nuggets that have been dropped today. And as always, as we end the show, I'm wishing you well, and I hope that you are safe and in good spirits. And until we meet again, y'all be good.